All right, guys, thank you again so much for your patience. I am so excited to get through this because it's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited to just finally share all this knowledge with you. So let's get cracking into it. So if you don't know who I am, maybe you found me through a friend. My name is Kelsey. Sup, hope you're well. I live in London and I am a travel and interiors blogger. I'm originally from Australia, which is why I have a weird accent, and I've been living in London for 5 years now. I love all things to do with design, dogs, and dad jokes. I bloody love a well-timed pun. I've been working for over 10 years in the creative and social media industry. I've worked as a creative director, a graphic designer, and a photographer as well. My experience is in like fashion and e-commerce. So I've also worked both sides as an influencer and also behind the scenes in PR and marketing. Back in the early days of Blogspot and Lookbook, if any of you remember those ones. I'm also the founder of Creative Gal Gang, which a lot of you guys might already be a member of. I basically founded this group when I first moved to London because I didn't know anyone here who did the same thing as me, and I wanted a safe place to like connect everyone where we could all lift each other up, because I firmly believe nobody wins unless everybody wins. That's truly my sentiment. Sharing is caring, and I just like to help people because I think, you know, we can all lift each other up. So you can find me online at Kelsey in London is my main account. That's my travel account. Also at Home with Kelsey, which is my interiors account, and at Creative Gal Gang. So today's webinar is made possible by Kitly. So Kitly, the best way to describe Kitly, it's an app, but it's basically like a virtual assistant. It will help you create media kits for your insights, manage your collaborations, and also send invoices. It's really the must-have app for influencers, and it's something I've been waiting for literally years. I just wish this existed so much sooner because it honestly makes my job so much easier. I know a lot of you have already downloaded the app, but if you haven't, please just take a moment to go to the App Store or on Google Play and download it. If you've already got it downloaded, please send, there's been like an update, I think, tonight come through some new features. So make sure to go on the App Store and download the latest update. I will be referencing it a few times throughout this webinar, so make sure it's kind of on the side there. But again, everything will be recorded, so don't feel like you have to take notes. Just sit back, relax, and we'll get into it. Okay, so also there's a cheeky little giveaway. As you can tell, I love houseplants. I've got a bit of a healthy, unhealthy obsession. So we'll be giving away a 1-year houseplant subscription from Leaf Envy. If you want to win, all you need to do is post about this webinar on your stories or grid and tag Kitly and also hashtag Influencer Business School. Every single post or frame will be counted as an additional entry, and the winner will be chosen at random in 7 days' time. But we must be based in the UK just because of shipping. So if you want to win that, feel free to share something and get involved. So here's a brief overview of what we're going through today. There's a lot to unpack. We're starting first with insights and how you can use insights to increase your engagement and reach. Then I'll move on to hashtags, which is something I get asked about a lot. I will be sharing literally everything you need to know. It's my no bullshit advice. Then we'll be going to media kits, how you can make these and what you need to include in them. Then we'll be moving on to working with brands, so how you can pitch to brands and get noticed by PR so you can land your next collaboration. Then we'll move on to collab management, so how you can manage your collaborations effectively and never miss a deadline again. And then we'll finish with invoices, so the best way to send and manage invoices. And so yeah, just to clarify for the giveaway, it's a 24-hour period, so make sure to do it tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever you fancy. Okay, so let's get into the importance of insights. So I'm just really curious to know what you guys think. Which Instagram metric do you think is the most important? Do you think it's follower size, post reach, or engagement? Let me know now. We're going to bring up a little Zoom poll so you can cast your votes. Think about it like from a brand perspective, but also from, you know, yourself. Engagement, I see a lot of you guys seeing that. Yeah, so most of you guys are saying engagement right now rather than cool, like literally 100% engagement. Okay, so the reason why I asked this is because I want to take a second to talk about Instagram metrics and their authenticity. So typically follower counts would always relate to the popularity of an influencer, But as I'm sure we all know, that followers can easily be bought or faked. So therefore, follower number isn't actually a true indicator of true reach or anything really. Engagement is really important because this relates to the value of your content, and things like shares and saves is really valuable for us to know what's valuable to your followers. However, again, with likes and comments, these can be bought and faked, and these are often considered a vanity metric. And obviously in some countries, I think in Australia and Canada, likes are currently hidden as well. So I'm going to start introducing the concept of true reach to you guys, which isn't something I think the industry talks about at all, really. And I think it's going to be a big change in our industry. When I'm talking about true reach, I'm referring to the number of posts, number of people who see your posts. So this accurately represents an influencer's true audience. It's transparent, it's authentic, and it's difficult to fake. I don't think it can't be bought. So why true reach is important. As you guys know, the general public and the media love to hate on influencers. It's a new industry and we come under a lot of fire. So that's why it's really important for us to remain transparent and have integrity. So again, why followers can be bought, true reach cannot. Your true reach engagement can help you sell your value to brands. So if you're curious to know what your true reach is, the best way to do this is to open up the Kitly app and go on your account performance dashboard. You can see a screenshot on the right there. That's my reach for Home of Kelsey. So while I have 65,000 followers, my true average reach is actually 75,000, which is above my follower count. And according to all the data inside Kitly, the average industry reach is approximately 20 to 30% of your follower count. So if you've got 100,000 followers and your posts on average are reaching around 30,000, then that's a good amount. That's kind of average. If you're doing less, then there might be something wrong. And if you're reaching more or 100%, then you're doing something really, really right. So based on this information, this is why I think fees and rates and engagement rates should be calculated based on true reach and not follower count. I think this is something that's very outdated in this industry and needs to change. So let's talk about engagement rates for a second. If you don't know what that is, it means the percentage of your audience that engages with your posts. So why is this important for brands is because it helps brands determine which influencers they want to work with. For example, if two influencers have 20,000 followers each, however, one influencer has a 5% engagement rate and the next one has 15%, obviously they're going to pick the person with the higher engagement rate. And for us as influencers, it's a metric that we can use to determine, which of our content really is most valuable to our followers. So how can we calculate this? Well, the old method uses, it's based on follower number. So currently you could Google, online engagement rate calculator, and you can do these things online. But as you can see on the right there, I tested it with my own account and the results are really inaccurate and inconsistent, and they're not based on reach. So I'm going to show you how to actually do it and what we should be doing as an industry. Okay, so let's take my post on the right there as an example. It got over 6,000 likes and it reached 61,000 people. So I've got 158,000 followers, and as much as I would love my post to reach that many people, they just wouldn't. I've had my account for 10 years, people might be inactive. It's just not how Instagram works. So the old method of calculating the engagement rate would be to take my engagement and then divide that by my follower number. So if you did it that method, you would get a 4% engagement rate. However, if you do it with the new method of doing it by your reach, you will get an engagement rate of 11%. And the best way I can explain this is in traditional marketing, for example, if you did an e-newsletter campaign, you might have 10,000 people on your mailing list, and then you send the email out to them, but only 5,000 people open it. You would then, to measure the success of that campaign, you would take, say if let's say 1,000 people clicked on something in that email, you would say 1,000 people divided by the 5,000 who opened it, and that would be your engagement rate or your click-through rate. So this just makes a lot more sense. I don't know why people aren't doing it, and I think it really helps, prove your worth to brands. So when you are trying this new method, make sure to also include the number of likes, comments, shares, and saves, because sometimes someone might save a post and they might not actually remember to like it. So make sure to include all those engagements together. So when a brand is asking you what your engagement rate is, you could do it by using that new formula. You could calculate the engagement rate for your 10 most recent posts. add it all together, divide by 10 to get your average thing. Honestly, this just is really long. It's a lot more maths than you really need. So you can actually find it out in Kitly. Again, so you go to your account performance dashboard, you can see there your engagement rate. So mine is 16%. The average kind of amount you want is 10 to 15% is a good thing to be sitting on. So yeah, if you guys have a moment, just feel free to open up the app and check out what your engagement rate is currently. So a question I get asked a lot is, how do you increase your engagement? And my short answer for this is to always be consistently sharing and creating content that provides value. I'm a big advocate on quality over quantity. So I always say, all killer, no filler. So how do you determine your most valuable content? Well, the easiest way to do this is to compare your highest performing posts to your lowest performing posts to see which content your followers love the most. And to do this is you can just open up the Kitly app, and in there, they will rank your posts from 1 to 100 in order of engagement. And when you're doing this evaluation of your own account, it's really important to spot key trends and what's working, what's not. So on the left there, you can see my highest performing posts, and at a quick glance, you can see, those epic travel photos, the travel guides, any shots of London do really well. Also, any photos for my boyfriend and I, which means I definitely need to kind of convince him to get into more shots of me. And on the right, these are the photos that have not performed well at all. So you can see, basically, they're all photos where my face is not in them. Any flat lays, outfit details, things like that. So when I reviewed this, I was like, okay, why aren't these working? The short answer is they don't relate to my niche. So my niche is travel in London. So with these flat lays, I really do enjoy creating them. However, I could just repurpose these on my blog or even my Instagram stories. But if you keep posting these photos that aren't performing well, then you're going to damage your engagement rate. So in order to increase it, you've got to focus on the higher end performing posts and creating and sharing these, and just saving those other ones for a rainy day, basically. So another way to determine your most valuable content is to look at which of your posts receive the most saves and shares. So to do this, you go into Instagram Insights, look at your posts, and then you can sort by shares or saves. So why this is really valuable is because shares will help you attract new followers to your page. So when your followers are sharing your post to their stories or with their friends, you're getting more eyes on your post and more chances to get a new follower. And with saves, this means that it's extremely valuable to existing followers. So they're saving your post for later to refer to. It's kind of like Pinterest in a way. So this is really important. And when you are evaluating this, make sure to not just look at your photos, because sometimes you might be a bit surprised at the results. Make sure to also consider your captions. Sometimes I have a really average photo that has a lot of saves, but it's because I've got a really informative captions. Okay, so here's a quick little tip for follower growth. I'm not going to go much into follower growth today because it's a whole nother can of worms. And as I've kind of introduced the concept of true reach, I think that's a lot more important than your number of followers. But this is a little quick tip you can try after this webinar. So if you go to Instagram, your insights, and then share by follows, you can actually see your posts, which ones brought you the most followers. I don't think many people know about this. Whenever I tell some friends, they're like, oh, I didn't know I can do this. And as you can see there, these posts have sometimes brought me in 2,000, 1,000 followers just from a single feed post. So what I do here is I'll see, what's working, and then I'll try to recreate that. On my Tira's account, it is really hard because, I've only got one bedroom, I've only got one lounge room, so it does get a bit repetitive. However, if something works well once, then it's going to work well again. So if you see on the top 2 rows on that screenshot on the left, I've got the exact same photo of the bed. And you would think people would get bored of it. But when I posted the second time, it performed just as well. And I got nearly 1,500 new followers from that post. So if you do want to do that, just make sure to spread it apart, maybe a few months apart, so people aren't getting, a bit bored. But yeah, that's one of my go-to tips if I'm struggling and want to know how to increase some new followers. Okay, so now moving on to hashtags. The reason why we love hashtags is because hashtags can get us additional reach outside of our current followers. I'm going to admit something. I did not use hashtags at all last year. I didn't think they worked. I kind of used them ironically and sarcastically. I just didn't bother with them. But this year with my second account, Home with Kelsey, I basically just took everything I learned and I was able to grow my account from, I think I was on 5,000 followers at the start of the year, and now I've just hit 65,000 followers. So I've grown over 60,000 followers in just the space of a year. And that's mostly been due to hashtags. So obviously the more reach you get, the more likes, comments and shares you get, and just the more opportunities to gain new followers, new potential customers and new opportunities. So as you can see there on one of my posts on the right, hashtags can bring you really good results. And I'm going to talk you through them now. I know some of you saying that hashtags haven't been working for a few months now. I'm just going to add that hashtags have actually been hidden in the US for a few months now, ever since the election. I think they've just recently come back, but this will affect you even if you're in the UK or Australia, because, you know, if you're using a hashtag like, I don't know, rosé wine, it's not just, you know, related to the UK. People from all across the world will use that. So if US users aren't using that, looking at that hashtag, you're going to have less reach. But that is now back and should be fixed. Okay, so let's get into it. Hashtags, how many should you use? You should always use 30 hashtags. That's the maximum amount Instagram will let you use. The way I see it is the more hashtags you use, the more chances you have of hitting the top or explore page of a hashtag. It's like buying raffle tickets. If you bought 5 tickets, you wouldn't have that much chance of winning, but if you bought 30, you would. So I know a lot of people say, oh, the 5 is the optimum amount. It just doesn't make sense. If you can use 30, use all 30, and that's what I do, and that's how I get those kind of results. In terms of what hashtags you use, I recommend using around 25 relevant hashtags and then 5 community hashtags. So what I mean by relevant hashtags is hashtags that relate directly to your image. So even if you're a fashion blogger and you end up posting a photo of your breakfast, use hashtags that relate to that breakfast photo, like hashtag poached eggs or eggs for breakfast. You don't have to always use the word eggs in it. You could use, you know, get a bit more general, like breakfast food, brunch goals, etc., etc. When I'm talking about community hashtags, I mean any hashtags that relate to your niche or to your location or to your community. So things like London foodies, obviously the vegan community is massive on Instagram, and shout out to Creative Girl Gang. That's a perfect example of a community hashtag. It's hashtags that other creatives use and you can connect together. So make sure to use around 5 of those. In terms of whether hashtags go in the caption or as a comment, honestly, it's up to you. It doesn't make a difference whatsoever. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Hashtags are just as effective when you put them as a comment as they are in the caption. Personally, I put mine in a comment because I like to keep my caption free of all that hashtag clutter. So again, do what you like. It doesn't make a difference. So should you avoid using popular hashtags? So I recommend using hashtags with around 1 million posts or less. The reason for this is if you're using a hashtag like coffee, for example, there is 126 million posts under that hashtag. And let's be honest, there's just no way that your post is going to be seen in that million, millions and millions of posts. So what I recommend is experimenting and trying a tiered approach. For example, you could use 5 hashtags with under 1 million posts, 10 hashtags with under 500,000, 10 under 200,000, and the remaining 5 under 100,000. I also recommend avoiding hashtags that are too niche. So if a hashtag only has 100 posts or 1,000 posts, it means not many people are actually using it or looking at it. So you want to kind of stick between that 50,000 to 1 million mark. If you're already getting good results and you have a bigger account, then you could probably go up even higher and use hashtags of 5 million or 10 million posts. It's always good to experiment in this case. So in terms of how to find the best hashtags to use, I just go straight to the Instagram app and go to the search bar. I go to the tags tab and search for a word that directly relates to your photo. So if you take the example of coffee, just punch in coffee, and then down the list you can see the related hashtags and just pick out any ones that aren't too oversaturated. You can also use the hashtags of your favorite accounts. So if someone you know is doing really well, have a little cheeky stalk in the comment section and see what's working for them, so long as they relate to your niche. Otherwise, it might not be relevant for you. Okay, so this is going to be a big debate and something I get asked about a lot. Do hashtags work on carousel posts and IGTVs? Yes, they do, but only around 10% of the time. So the reason for this is because if you look at the top page of any hashtag, it's 90 to 95% single image posts. I put an example there of hashtag London blogger. You can already see as a snapshot, they're all, there's a bit of reels there on the side, but they're all single image posts. And if you keep scrolling, they're all single image posts. And you want to appear on the top page, because when you hit the top page, that's when you get that real viral reach. Here's another example of the hashtag lounge room. This is from the desktop view, and on desktop, there's only 9 posts that are the top posts, and then after that, it goes to recent posts. You can actually see my photo there on the top left. I posted that photo yesterday, so I've got a lot of reach from that post. I think it was over 100,000. So yeah, let me explain a bit further. So this doesn't mean you should be avoiding posting carousels or IGTV. They are still extremely valuable to your followers, and they can still get a lot of reach from explore, location, and shares. So what I recommend doing is just asking yourself, is a carousel post really necessary? So for example, if you're posting 7 photos of the same outfit, no offense, but it's just not really necessary. It can be a bit boring. Instead, if you have, a few close-up details, you could put them on your blog or even on your stories and kind of mention in your caption, like, hey, check out my stories for some more photos. Some valuable carousel posts might be, one coat styled 7 different ways. That's really valuable, and people are going to save that for later. And any of those educational carousel posts which have text and you swipe through and you learn a lot, those are really valuable too. So just ask yourself, when is it necessary? And if not, if you stick to single image posts, you're more likely to get more hashtag reach. So just a quick note on shadow ban and banned hashtags. Shadow ban is a real thing. It's literally confirmed by Instagram directly. I've included a link there for you to read later, but they do actually put a ban on any sexually suggestive posts. They don't appear on explored hashtag pages. I'm sure none of us are posting any explicit images, but this does mean it's basically like an AI. It scans the image. So I've had bikini photos in the past where it just does not get any hashtag reach. So it's just something to keep in mind, but I don't think it should let us stop us from posting any photos we want. Like, we shouldn't have to censor our bodies. But again, when it's a robot scanning an image, they just see the skin and they can flag it as inappropriate. So fortunately that sucks. There are also banned hashtags. So you'll be surprised which hashtags are banned. For example, Londoner is banned. No idea why, but it just is. Things like beauty blogger is banned and body confidence. So if you are using any of these banned hashtags, you're probably going to have limited reach. So just make sure you do a little check of which hashtags you're currently using. Go on the Instagram app, and it'll actually just tell you which ones are banned. That's the best way to know about it directly. But yeah, that is basically everything. I do have a lot more detailed blog posts about this on my website. So if you go to instagram.kelseylondon.com, there's a lot more details there. But in summary, stick to 30 hashtags, stick to relevant hashtags, and where you can, stick to single image posts, and you're more likely to get better hashtag reach. So let's move on to media kits. If you've not heard of media kits before, the best way to explain it is like your CV and resume and also a portfolio combined into one document. They're really essential for when you want to start working with brands and you want to pitch yourself. So there's a few ways you can make media kits. You can use them, make them in Microsoft Word. I'm sure most of us know how to use that. If you're a designer like me, you can use any of the Adobe programs. I use InDesign myself, PowerPoint, Keynote, and the good thing is there's lots of free media kit templates available online to get you started. So just have a Google media kit templates. So what you need to include in these, you need to make sure you have some photos of your work and a photo of yourself. Even if you mostly post fat lays, just include a photo of yourself because it's good for brands and PR to kind of put a face to a name as well. Make sure to have your contact details, so include your email address and phone number. This is just in case any PR share around your document and it gets lost from your original email. They can just always make sure they can get in contact. Put a short biography introducing yourself and what you're all about. And most importantly, include all your social statistics and your audience stats. So things like your top 3 locations, your female, gender, male split. Also a section on previous partnerships. So just list any brands that you've worked with previously. If you haven't worked with any brands previously, don't worry about it, just leave that blank. And one thing I don't see a lot of people doing is adding testimonials. So you could ask previous brands or PR you worked with to write you a reference. I think this is really useful for future brands to see. Again, if you haven't done any of this work experience, you can actually just ask your followers to write you testimonials. So, do a little Instagram story, ask them to say why they love following you, and just chuck that in your media kit because I think that's really useful for brands to see. So on the next slide, I'm actually going to show you my media kit and what that looks like. So this is it. I try to keep it as a one-pager, and I'll explain why and the reason. At the top there's a few photos of my interiors account. On the bottom right, a photo of my cheeky little face and my biography. I've got a link to my Instagram and my blog and my contact details. I've got my previous partnerships there. I try to use brand logos because I feel like that's more easily recognizable. And in the corner, in the middle section, you can see a big button that says click here for my live social statistics. So the reason why I don't actually have my follower numbers written down is because my account is very quickly growing. It easily gets outdated. So what I've done is actually linked to my live Kitly media kit. So I'll show that to you on the next slide, what that looks like. So with Kitly, anyone can make a media kit and it features live data. So all the stats like your reach and engagement will always automatically update, which is amazing and just saves me a lot of time having to update a PDF or having to update a Word document. It's interactive, it's professional looking, and you don't need any design experience. I know not everyone's a graphic designer like myself, and you can literally create it in minutes. So I'm just going to exit my presentation for a second and show you how it looks like on web. So hopefully this comes through for you guys. This is how my media kit looks on Kitly. So at the top, I could put a little banner there. You can add as many images as you like. I've got my biography there, links to my blog and Instagram. I've added a bit on the brand partnerships here. These are my featured insights. So I put my favorite insights at the top. You can add a gallery, you can add videos. There's really lots of options here, which is great. But the most important part is down the bottom. So these are the verified insights. And this is where it really sells your value and creates trust with brands. So in here you can see my feed content, my audience and growth, and all the graphs are very interactive. So it just looks really impressive. I could not achieve this with my design skills. And then you got your post on the bottom. There's a lot there, so I do definitely recommend making a media kit maybe just this evening or tomorrow, and let me know if you have any questions. I can definitely answer them at the end. So just going to go back into my presentation. So I have a quick question for you again. I'm really curious to know, there's no right or wrong answer. Do you think you should display your fees and rates in your media kit? Yes or no? Okay, so that's a firm no. I think I'm just gonna take a little wine break because I've been talking a lot. Okay, so it's mostly no. Honestly, it's up to you. Personally, I don't like to because, again, with things like my follower size, my rates can also quickly come outdated. So I had them off there because I think it's really important to always ask for a brief first before you send over your rates, because there are just too many variables for you to send costs over. And you can always discuss this in email as well. Cool, so I'm glad we're all in agreement on this. This is something I get asked about a lot. Okay, so moving on, you've got your media kit ready and you want to start working with brands, or maybe you already are, but you want some more work. I've got some tips for you. So here are a few different ways to get noticed by brands and PR. So obviously, if you do already any organic mentions, so if you're tagging brands in any posts on your blog or Instagram, that's a good way for them to see your profile. By having a clear niche, that's a really good way to get noticed by brands, because if you position yourself as a go-to expert of a topic, brands are always looking for that. So make sure it's really clear on your profile. Obviously, by posting valuable content, the more reach you get, the more chances you'll get seen by brands and PR. Sending pitch emails directly to brands. So I'm actually going to be sharing my pitch email template on one of the next few slides. Networking. So obviously this year, there has been pretty much 0 events from March. So obviously that's not an option this year, but you can network online on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. But any FaceTime you can get with brands and PR is so valuable, because they just love working with people who they know in person. And then again, they can put a face to a name. Having a banging bio. So on the next slide, I have a little checklist for you, what you need to include in your Instagram biography. Hashtags, again, use your hashtags so you can see buy more brands. On most brand pages on their profile, they'll have what hashtag they use. So make sure you're using their hashtag so you get noticed by them. And also by engaging with your community. A lot of influencers still obviously have full-time jobs. So you never know which influencer is working for your favorite brand in PR marketing. So make sure to engage with as many people as possible. Okay, so here's a quick little biography checklist. First thing is to display your email address. I know you can add it as a button, but most brands and PR search for influencers on their computer. And when you're on the desktop version of Instagram, you can't actually see that email button. So make sure to actually have it written out. So you can see there on the second line, I have my hi@homeofkelsey.com email. Also display your city location. This is a lot of thing. I see a lot of bloggers, they don't put this at all. Basically, the reason for this is because brands and PR, if they're doing events or they're doing certain campaigns, they want to quickly know who's living in what city so they can invite them to. It also helps you become more relatable to potential new followers. People love to follow people who live in the same city as them. Also, make sure to clearly state your niche, even though it might be possible, really instantly visible from your photos. Make sure to actually write it out. So on the top line there, I've written London, rented home of Kelsey in London. My niche is sharing like rent-friendly, budget-friendly tips. And my last tip is to use the name field as a description. So what I mean by this is on Instagram, you can put your first and last name, but instead you can actually use a space to describe your account. So instead of putting Kelsey Heinrichs, I have written interior inspo and London home. So that way, when you actually search interior inspo on Instagram, my account will come up. So that's a very easy change you can make tonight if you want to. Okay, so let's move on to pitching. So first you need to find their email. So a few ways to do that. You can go to a brand's website, just head to the contact page, look out for any email within PR and marketing. You can go on LinkedIn, you can go to the company page, look through the employees list and just look out for any titles relating to PR and marketing. Feel free to send them a message. They may or not reply, but it's always worth a try. You could also just use old mate Google, just search for the brand name and then followed by PR email. I do that quite a lot and in most cases it does come up. You could also message the brand on Instagram and ask for a PR email directly. I always recommend pitching over email. I just think it's a lot more professional and you want to be taken seriously by brands. So as much as possible, do try to get out the DMs and onto email. So what you should include in your email, try to keep the email to around 3 short paragraphs. In the first introduction, just introduce yourself. Secondly, then you want to say why you want to work with their brand and why you're a great fit. Use this paragraph to really sell yourself, mention your engagement and your reach, and bonus points if you can include any previous organic mentions. Here's a great spot also where you can include your Kitly media kit. And the last paragraph, this is where you should provide a content idea and also a call to action. So other pointers just to mention, make sure to always address the brand or person by their first name or brand name. I think it's so annoying when someone emails me saying hi there because it just feels like they sent it to a million people. So don't ever start your email with hi there. If you can't find the person's name, at the very least, just say hi, brand, team, or something like that. Make sure the email subject is personalized. So if you don't know what to think about, you can just put the brand name X your username. So that way it at least stands out in their inbox. Make sure to have a clickable link to your Instagram and website. And really do avoid those kind of copy and paste generic emails. Make it as personal as possible. And also I recommend not mentioning budget or fees in the first email. The first pitch email should really be about gauging whether they want to work with you in general. So just bring up that topic like the second or third email. So on this slide, I've actually put my pitch email template. For purposes of this presentation, I've made up a brand called Bobbins because I didn't want to get cancelled, so no one can come for me. Again, this will be recorded and shared later, so don't feel like you have to take a screenshot or write it down. You can see that in the first paragraph, I've introduced myself and I've put clickable links to my website and my Instagram. In the second paragraph, I've complimented them, said why I love their brand, and then I really sold myself on, my engagement and my reach, and then put a little link to my Kitly media kit. In the last paragraph, I've actually provided a content idea. Basically, this really works well because you're basically doing their job for them. So I've suggested doing a shelf styling tips reel Instagram video, and I've finished with a call to action. So what I mean by this is basically just asking the question so that they have to respond in some way. So I'll just ask, are you available for a call? Let me know when works for you. So that is my example of a pitch email. You can make it as long as short as you want, but the most important thing is just to keep it really, really personal. So hopefully in an ideal world, you'd send the pitch email, they reply and say, great, what's your rates? And you can go from there. But I think we all know that's not the case. So I thought I would include some example replies. So what happens when, a brand doesn't have budget or they're just offering you gifting, for want of a better word. So for example, if you send that pitch email and they've said, great, we'd love to work with you, pick an item from our website, and you can do a post. Just try to remain positive as possible. You can just say something like, thanks for letting me know about your gifting. However, I'm unable to create content in exchange for products. I'd love to work with you. Do you have a budget available? Try to get that conversation back to the budget. If you've done that and there's still family, there's no budget, and they want to give you gifting, there's two things you can do. So you could decline politely, and you could say, look, my schedule is really busy right now. I can only have space available for sponsored partnerships. I'd love to keep in touch, and reach out when you do have a budget available. I feel like this way you're not burning any bridges and you're keeping things positive. On the other hand, if you do feel like you can create some engaging organic content with this product, you can accept. However, it's really important to let them know that if they want a dedicated post, there will need to be a budget. You're happy to take it. You can post about it organically as you see fit. But if they want a brief, if there's a deadline, if they want control, there needs to be budget. So I think with both options here, you're very politely, but also trying to steer that conversation back to budget. I get asked about this a lot. It can be a really difficult thing to bring up the topic about budget, but I think, we're all worth it. We all need to be paid for our time. So I thought I would include them there for you guys. Cool, so collab management. Here's what the collab process looks like. So you'll create the content for a brand, send it over. Hopefully you'll get approved straight away. If not, there might be a few small rounds of amends. You post to social media, and then you send your insights to brand, and at that point you are ready to send an invoice. That's generally how it works, and I'm going to take you through that process now. So I'm curious to know, how do you guys currently manage your collaborations? This is something I really struggled with this year. I am a real scatterbrain personality. I have to have everything written down. Sometimes I would just do it from memory, and that means I would always miss deadlines. So some of you using, great, I can see that coming through. So a lot of you are new to this as well. So I think this might be a whole new area to go through. So currently you might do it in your inbox, pen and paper, online calendar, and you might feel like you're missing your deadlines or you don't know what the deliverables were. I know there are a lot of online software management websites. However, Kitly is the first one that's actually designed for influencers. So you can make a project or a collaboration, and actually it's designed so you can add a deliverable, you can add a due date and fees. And this has honestly helped me so much because, like I said, I'm such a scatterbrain. So let me show you how this works. In the Kitly app, down the bottom, there's a collabs tab. You can create a collaboration, again, using the brand of bobbins as an example. Once you've created a collaboration, you can add deliverables, you can add a due date, you can select what type of post you're doing, whether that's a grid post, a YouTube video, a Snapchat. Not sure if anyone uses Snapchat over the age of 13. And also you can set your rates there as well. You can also add notes. So I find this is a good space to add your brief, or also things like what hashtags or tags you need to use. And then once you create the collaboration, you can just track them in your dashboard. So you can see there my 2 fake active collaborations. So it's a really good way to stay on top of all your workload and make sure you never miss anything. They also will send you reminders when something is due. So that's really, really useful. So once your collaboration is posted, how you send your insights to a brand. So the only way to do it currently is to take a screenshot of the insights for each individual post and story. But if you've ever done a multi-post campaign, you know this can be so long. I've had campaigns where there's been 50+ stories, and taking a screenshot and having to upload it is just so time consuming. So there's actually a way to do that in Kitly where it's all automatic and it's all live data. So the benefits of the Kitly report system is that you can create one with live data. So a lot of brands and PR will ask for insights, 24 hours after you post it. The issue with this is that your post will keep getting reach as the week goes along, especially with hashtags. Sometimes it can even take a full week or 2 weeks for my hashtags to get all that reach. So with the Kitly reports, this uses live data. And as you can see there on the right, that is an example of a campaign I did recently for Primark. And this is the first time I sent my insights to a brand, and instead of them just being like, chill, thanks, Kelsey, they were actually like, wow, this is impressive. Because as you can see there, I had 694,000 impressions just from my posts, 6,000 saves, nearly 30,000 likes. And this just kind of really knocked the socks off the brand. You don't have to do any more screenshots, and you can create them literally in seconds. So to create a report, all you need to do is create a new report, give it a name, select the account that you posted on, and then use whichever hashtags or at tags you use. As soon as you click that pink generate button, it will create the report literally in seconds. There's no further work to do. And again, like that media kit, it's really interactive and you can send it directly to brands and PR. So you've sent the insights, now it's ready to send an invoice. So very similar to media kits, you can make invoices with Word, Adobe. You can even use PayPal if you use that, or any online accounting softwares. Again, lots of free templates available online. I'm going to share what mine looks like in just a second. What you need to include is the brand details, so their company name, address, email, and contact number, your details, the invoice number, invoice supply date, the date you've sent the invoice, and the invoice due date. A description of what you're charging for, the total amount due, VAT, so if in the UK, add on VAT if you are earning over £85,000 a year. That is a lot, so probably not most of us, and then your payment terms and your payment details. So this is how mine looks. It's got my classic boring beige branding. On the top left, you can see my invoice number, the brand details, invoice date, due date, and the payment terms. So the payment terms, it really depends on what the brand you're working with is. Sometimes it can be 30 days or 90 days. So make sure to check with them first, because there's no point saying, you know, oh, you have to pay in 2 days, because that's just not going to work. So check with them first what their payment terms are and add it in there. In the middle, you can see the description of what I was charging for, the amount, and then my bank details down below. You can also, of course, create your invoices in Kitly. So these are really great because you can keep track on what's been sent, when something is overdue, and you can send them directly from the app. So how to create them is, if you go to your collaborations, click those 3 dots in the top corner, and then if you've already put in your, the posts and the fees, you can just click generate invoice and it'll create it all automatically, which just, again, saves so much time. And once you create the invoices, you can track them in your dashboard, see when they were sent and see when they are overdue. So just as a quick summary of all the key features of Kitly, you can make media kits in literally minutes, manage your collaborations, your insights and invoices. So there's a lot going on in this app. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. So feel free to send them in now. While you send in your questions, ask them about anything, hashtags, any of the things I mentioned too. I just thought I would talk through the different membership plans on Kitly. So Kitly is free to download and use, and you can have 1 feature each at any one time. So that means you can have 1 media kit running, 1 collaboration, 1 invoice, and 1 report. Once you create the media kit, you can edit it and change it as you like. So this is really, really useful, and I think everyone should be implementing this. On the Pro membership, you can use any 2 features at any time. And the publisher, you can have unlimited features and a lot more, like basically everything, the reports, all the things I showed you as many times as you want. I do believe they sent another update this evening, so I think the boys later will talk about their new features. But they do have an exclusive offer for you guys today. If you are loving what you're seeing, there is a 50% off annual publisher subscription. Sorry, I always get tongue-tied when I talk really fast because I'm excited. It's normally $228 for the whole year, but for a 24-hour offer only, it is $94.99. So if you do want that offer, make sure your app is updated. Go to the App Store, update the app, and then go to the upgrade section. It will only be live for 24 hours. So again, if you have any questions about what this includes, feel free to send them through now. But yeah, that's basically the end of my presentation. I know it was a lot. So again, we will be posting a screen recording so you can go through everything later. And hopefully now I'm going to go through some question and answers. So if you can't stick around, that's totally fine. Feel free to dash out, and I'll try to get through as many of these as I can right now. Thanks so much, guys, for joining in. Okay, cool. So questions go through. So how do we find community hashtags for our niche? I think this really, it depends. So I think, for example, for my interiors account, there's a community hashtag called How I Rent, which is a hashtag people use if they have a rented home and they want to show you, like, you know, rented styles. So I think I found these hashtags from following other influencers. A lot of influencers have their own hashtags, because obviously I have mine, Creative Girl Gang. So just check out other influencers and also look in the hashtags. So search keywords like fashion, sustainable fashion, slow fashion, anything like that. Okay, so always hard for me to read through the questions. What format do you send a media kit in to have that link? Not sure that's a question for the boys, but basically it's just a link and you can view it on computer, mobile, it works anywhere. It's just like a website, basically. I hope that answers your question. How do you give your rates if not on the media kit? So again, like I mentioned, when you're doing the pitching, when they ask you for rates is when you give them your rates, basically. There's no point telling you the fees unless they've actually said, you know, we have a budget, what's your rates? And then you can discuss them there. Cool, so can brands see your insights about Dynamic Kidly? Yes, so like I showed you with that media kit link, if you send that link, you don't need to actually have the app downloaded, it works just like a website, basically. Question, when you have posted an ad, so a sponsored post, have you found that your engagement drops? So I actually find that my ads are my top performing posts, and I think that's purely because I put so much effort into the ads, and I really look at my insights. I see what's performing best organically, and then I make sure my ads match that. I really try to explain this to brands and say, look, if you want to post a close-up photo of the product or me holding the product like this, it's just not going to perform. I know that's what they want visually, but it's not going to perform because I know what my audience likes best. So I will try to recreate what's already working. So that's why my ads actually do perform, you know, the same as my normal posts, if not a bit better. Yeah, I just find with that, like, just really make sure to communicate with the brand. In the end, you want the post to do it as well as they want to. So just be really, really honest and transparent. Okay. Go through them. So there's a lot of questions about rates. It's really hard to talk about rates because there's just so many variables. I know in Creative Girl Gang, we actually do have a document about how much you can charge. I will be updating this because I think previously it was all about your follower count. There was a rule like, you know, charge 1% of your follower size. This just doesn't make any sense because, like I've said, your posts do not reach the number of followers you have. So, and obviously people can just fake their followers. So we should be charging based on your impressions, your reach, and your engagement. And also on things like your unique relationship with your brand, your followers. And that's something we can't really put a price on. But yeah, make sure to join Creative Girl Gang. It's a free Facebook group if you're not in it already, and you can see more details about pricing in there. Okay, just sorry, looking for the questions. So I might pass over to the Kitly team because there's a few questions there about Kitly on the free membership. Does that mean once you use the invoice one, you can't use it again? With the free one, you can have one invoice, but if you want to create a second one, you will need to upgrade. So you can have one feature at any one time. You can have one media kit, but again, if you want to make a second or third media kit, maybe you have different social accounts, then you will need to upgrade to the pro or professional or the publisher. Sorry, I'm on the publisher plan, which means, because if you follow me, I've literally got 5 different accounts, so I need all those extra features and to send a lot of reports as well. I asked how many followers are enough to ask for a brand collaboration. I don't think there needs to be a minimum. So long as you have something valuable to offer the brands, it doesn't matter if you have 10,000 followers, 1,000 or 100,000. You just really have to back yourself and make sure you really present yourself in a professional manner, and that way brands will see the value that you have to offer. Lots of questions complaining about the algorithm. I just try not to say the A word. It is what it is. And if you get frustrated by it, it can just really stunt your creativity. So I think just push through and really focus on quality rather than quantity. And make sure to take a break over Christmas. Like after this, I'm literally chilling out for 3 weeks. I might not even post. I think earlier this year, my camera broke and I actually didn't post for 2 months. It did not affect my engagement at all. When I posted after that 2 months, it was my highest performing post ever. So just be really kind to yourself, like literally chill out, take a break, post when you feel like you have something valuable to share. If you force it, your followers are going to know, and it's just going to affect your engagement. So yeah, just be kind to yourself, really. Okay, I might ask Jess, how many more questions should I do? I don't know if many people are still online.
Sorry, just unmuting myself. There are still 290 people online, and I can.
Well, I mean, I've got my wine. I could just keep going all night.
Yeah, I don't. There's like 55 questions here. If you want to take a look and maybe answer one, and I'll start scrolling through and pick a couple, and then maybe I'll just read them out to you.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I think I'll go for a few more minutes because I love talking about this stuff. I'm such a, my background in e-commerce is all about the data and the analytics. So I love to share where I can. Question about creating content for your home. So who the hell is in tier 3? Tier 3 gang represent, yes, it is really tough to make content inside your house. Obviously, as a travel influencer, it's really hard for me to do that. This year, I didn't travel anywhere since March, so I had to really rethink my content, and I found a way to make London look like travel content. It was a bit of a challenge, but then also there was a period where it wasn't safe to travel on the tube and take content, and that's now happening in tier 3. So how I take my photos inside is I use a softbox light. So it's basically like a studio light. I think they're around 20 or 30 pounds. You can get them from Amazon. They will create quite a natural daylight glow. They won't create any harsh shadows. And that's what I use. It's kind of what I'm using right now to light the backdrop in here. I use that a lot for my interior photos. So that will help. And just get creative, use different backdrops and props. And again, like during lockdown, it's just really important to look after yourself. If you're feeling stressed or not creative, just chill out again and come back to it when you are feeling creative. Cool, so most of these. I think a lot of the questions that came through, I probably would have also just answered as I went on in my presentation.
Kelsey, there's one here. It says, from Marion, it says, if I'm contacting a brand as a content creator only and not an influencer, as I have a small following, do I need a media kit, or will a website and socials be sufficient?
Yeah, website and socials will be sufficient. So with the term content creator, this basically just means you are a photographer, and with any creative, so I'm a graphic designer, I will use a portfolio website, and that is my portfolio. You could have a CV, so just like a one-page PDF, which might show like previous brands you worked with, but yeah, website, email, that's fine. You could link to your Instagram. Some brands might want to see how your posts look online, but it doesn't really matter because obviously it's not related to your follower amount and more about your actual creative skill.
Thank you. I've got one from Vicky here that says, when you post an ad, have you found that your engagement drops?
Oh, I just answered that one previously, but I'm liking this format because I find it hard to read as they all pop up. If you have any more for me.
This is a good question from Dolly. It says, how do you determine the market price if no one is sharing how much they're getting paid?
So that one I kind of answered before about like it really just depends. I think people are sharing it, you're just not looking in the right place. So in Creative Girl Gang, there's a few threads where I've asked everyone, like what do you charge? And I think more people should be open and transparent about it. I am working on some new information about how you can charge based on your true reach. This will be coming out shortly because I think this will really change things up. I think the old information is a bit outdated now. So yeah, definitely stay tuned to my Instagram, Creative Girl Gang, because that will be coming out shortly, as I feel like that would be a really good reference point moving forward.
Thank you. And then I got a question from Beth here. Any advice for getting the most out of your it's just jumped up. Getting the most of your outdoor photos content? I know presets help, but I'm struggling inside and out.
I guess inside and out, what can really help is using props. So things like fresh flowers. For me, if I don't have an interesting background, then I will focus more on my outfit. So again, it really depends if you're in the photo. I try to create as much interest as possible. So my outfits, more layers, more textures, more jewelry, more accessories, and if not props, flowers, magazines, food, just go all out really. But again, it depends on your style. You might be a bit of a minimalist. So just do what suits your feed and just have fun with it. Yeah, hope that answered the question. I could have a quick look through now too.
I've got another one here, which I think is a really good question. Do you have any advice on the guides feature from Ebony?
Yeah, so guides is a new one. It kind of launched. I created one on my interiors account, but the issue with guides is that there's no insights. So you can't actually see how it's performing well. But the way I see guides is basically just making it easier for your followers to find some of your existing posts. So you don't feel like you have to create new content for guides. Guides is kind of like creating a Pinterest board for a certain amount of posts. So on my travel account, I can create a guide for all my previous Paris photos. They're all in one spot and easy to find, or all my photos from Rome. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's really great if you don't have a blog. I know when I worked full time and did Instagram on the side, I did not have a time to also run a blog. So if you're in that position, guides is a great way to almost have a blog. And I do feel like soon Instagram will surely have to release the insights. Same with Reels, there's no insights for Reels yet. And once they do, you can actually then pitch up to brands and say, look, my guide has this many views. Would you like me to create a guide? It's another like deliverable and another upsell when you're working on a campaign. So I definitely think guides will be used more. We just need to have insights first to know how well they're doing.
100%. The insights are so important. Speaking from a point of view of like being the agency, without the insights, it's really hard for us to be able to justify back to our brand clients you know, how they can actually, you know, what the value was and how successful the campaign was. So yeah, it's so important. So a couple of people have questions about the giveaway. So Kelsey, I might just give you a little break so that you can take a swig of wine, and I'll explain that then to everyone. So we're running a competition with Leaf Envy, which is a plant subscription service. So it's the prize is for a year subscription for like a month. You get basically a plant sent to you once a month in a beautiful pot. So the mechanic is that you can post as many stories as you like, or post as you like about the webinar. Please tag Kitly and the hashtag Influencer Business School, and then each post or each frame on stories counts as another entry. I'm really sorry to say that it's only available in the UK, and that's because we, like, literally the plant subscription service won't be able to post overseas, and we're going to keep it open for 24 hours. So if you don't post this evening, that's no problem. You're welcome to post tomorrow as well. I think that covers everything in terms of questions around that.
Cool. I've just spotted two really good questions I'll answer quickly. One is a quick one about if you add a business partner to a post and mark it as a paid sponsorship. I found that my posts don't perform as well. Is there a way to combat this? So yes, this is something we've talked about in Creative Girl Gang and something I've noticed myself. I recently did an ad and for my interiors account, and as you can see, my interior posts, they usually reach around 75,000, if not more, sometimes 300,000. And when I did an ad recently for a brand, I used the paid partnership tool and I got no hashtag reach, and my post reach was really low. And I was like, what is going on? Chatted to a few friends and realized it was the paid partnership thing. I think the reason for this is obviously Instagram. They know that it's now an ad and now they want you to pay to boost it. So what I do when I work with brands, I just explain to them that, like, you know, here's the insights, what happens when I do use this tool. What would you like? Would you like more reach or not? So the way to get around this is to do your post and don't have the paid partnership tool when you do the post live, but you can add it a few days later. So that way the brand can still access the insights and still boost the post if they want to. Again, with these situations, just communicate honestly with the brand. Like, if you have the best interest, they'll really respect that. The other question is about how do you find a suitable niche? The easiest way to do this is really just post about what you're passionate about. It's always going to be different to someone else. And the good thing about the internet is that no matter what topic you like, there's always going to be thousands or millions of people who love the same thing as you do. For example, with my interiors account, you know, I've always had a really keen interest in interior design. My parents used to own an antique shop when I was younger, so that was just a very natural thing for me to do. And then my niche of interiors is renting, and that's purely for the fact I can't afford a house, so I'm sharing my rent-friendly tips on there. So yeah, that's how you can kind of find a niche and just experiment and do what you're passionate about, is my short answer. I'll just a quick little question: is it okay to have more than one niche on one page? I think maybe 2 niches max. Coming from someone who on my main account, you know, it started off as my personal account, then it was my graphic design account, then it was travel, then I was trying to do beauty and fashion. I was trying to do a bit of everything, and it's actually really stunted my growth. I can just be honest about that. Whereas with my interiors account, focusing on one niche has made it grow really quickly. So with my main account, I've now just focused and pared back on travel and London. So I think maybe 2 niches. So obviously if you're doing beauty, you could also do fashion, but then don't try to do food and fitness, because your followers are just going to be confused. If someone follows you for your outfits and then you post a photo of food, they're just going to be like, oh, like, so this, I'm going to unfollow. So I think stick to around 2 niches per account. Again, do what makes you happy, but if you do want to, have some success with this and think about it from a business perspective, please do consider at least 1 to 2 niches, I think. Cool. Any more questions, Jess?
Sorry, just bear with me.
Someone.
Sorry. If you spotted one.
Story views. How do you improve views on stories? Mine vary so much. Honestly, mine too. But lately I've been experimenting with a few things, and I've been able to double and sometimes triple my story views. And the way I've been doing this recently is 2 things. One is using polls. People bloody love to get their opinion on just about anything. So doing fun games like this or that, or sharing your unpopular opinions or anything that's just funny and entertaining, the views will start going up because it's just interesting. And I think during lockdown, I'll be honest, my life got a bit boring. My story views are a lot higher when I'm traveling to beautiful places, but I'm just at home stuck on my office desk and drinking coffee. Like, it gets a bit boring after a while. So I started introducing these fun games and polls, and they're doing really well for me. The other thing I'm doing to increase my story views is posting less. So I found when you take a day break between posting, so like I might post something on a Monday, take Tuesday off, and then post again on Wednesday, those first few stories will go up like triple, double. I've been experimenting this for a few weeks now, and it works just about every time, which is a good thing, because also it just means, I don't have to post as much, so I can have a bit of a break in between. But yeah, I think with stories, again, it's about quality over quantity. And like your feed posts, make sure you are doing something that's entertaining, educational, and like enriching. So try to focus on those 3 areas. Cool. Well, any last little questions? Maybe put them in the chat box if you have like one you're desperate for me to answer, and I'll look out for them. Okay, so I'm just quickly talk about inactive followers. This is something I've done on my main account. I've actually removed 40,000 followers this year. And the reason is because I've had my account literally since Instagram started. So over the years, people have probably stopped using Instagram and they've become like a ghost follower. They're still a real person, they're just not using Instagram anymore. The only way to do this is manually through your followers. Do not use any third-party apps, or you will be at risk of getting your account disabled or deleted. It is very time consuming, but I found once I deleted those inactive accounts or just any spammy looking accounts, you will attract spammy accounts when you use hashtags or you hit the explore page. That's just how Instagram works. Unfortunately, it is filled with bots. But yeah, just make sure to like make a habit of going through your follower list and removing any accounts that have a weird looking username. If they have like 0 posts, 0 followers, then that's probably a spammy bot account. And just, yeah, go through your follower list. You can search alphabetically, just type in A, B, etc. Remove people, and it will help basically increase your engagement, because the less followers you have, if these followers aren't actually liking your post, then you don't want them there anyway. So that's my answer. Okay, one last little question. How much do you need to work for your engagement? So do you need to spend all day liking other people's photos? Short answer, no, you don't. I used to think that I had to spend all day on Instagram liking everyone's photos to get a like back. Honestly, it's a waste of time. It is better to use your time to create better content for your followers. So instead of spending 2 hours every day engaging, spend 2 hours writing a new blog post or something that can help someone. I have found like it doesn't really matter. So if I do a post, and sometimes I honestly might post it and then log off, I might have a meeting or something, it will still do really well, even if I'm not liking everyone's photos. I try to always reply to question, comments, and my DMs as much as possible. But for me, it is a bit hard because I do have like 3 different accounts, but I'm trying my best. And yeah, engagement pods, don't do them. They will harm your reach, and they're against Instagram guidelines, and they are fake engagement, and brands won't like that. So definitely avoid those where possible. Cool. Well, I think we might end it there. Again, anytime you have any questions, I do a normal Monday Q&A on my Instagram, Kelsey in London. So that's always a good time to ask me any questions. And also in Creative Gal Gang, there's a whole community there to help you. So again, thank you so much for joining this evening. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I hope you all have a lovely holiday break and catch you soon, hopefully. Thanks, guys.